Factsverse presents, If You See This in the Sky, You'd Better Run. Natural disasters are capable of killing thousands of people, depending on the severity, of course. Wouldn't it be great if you could get a warning well ahead of time so that you'd have enough time to get out of danger before the disaster occurs? If you know what to look for, there are a few ways that you can predict a natural disaster is about to strike. As long as you know what to look for, you can save yourself and maybe even those around you. Before we get into this video, you definitely want to share this with others so that they can stay safe. So help us do that by clicking that like button. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. If you come across a forest with J-shaped trees, be happy you weren't around to see what caused them to become that shape. It was likely a landslide. The moving ground puts the tree trunks at an angle, and then they continue to grow straight up. Well, just because you weren't there for the landslide doesn't mean that there won't be another one. You're in an area that's obviously prone to landslides. If it happened once, it's very likely to occur again. A few other signs that a landslide occurred are cracks in the sidewalks, the streets, and the forest floor. If you're walking along the beach and you realize that the water is starting to recede, you need to get to high ground ASAP. Seeing the ocean floor without the cover of water, it can be incredible, but that also means a tsunami is on the way. The water recedes out because it's forming one gigantic wave that's ready to wipe out everything in its path. The only way of escaping this is to get to high ground as quickly as possible. Underwater earthquakes and volcanic eruptions can form tsunamis. The rushing water can move about 500 miles per hour across the ocean. One of the most catastrophic tsunamis in history formed in the Indian Ocean, and it killed over 200,000 people in 2004. If you're gazing up at the sky and you see wall clouds, you could be in grave danger. If you see this in the sky, you'd better run for cover. When the clouds form this way, they're very close to the ground. They can also stretch up to 5 miles across. When quick-rising air drops the atmospheric pressure below the storm, it creates a wall cloud. If the wall cloud rotates into itself, a tornado could occur within minutes. As soon as you see one of these clouds, get to an underground shelter immediately. Just going inside the house isn't going to be enough because a tornado could be strong enough to pick up your entire house and you along with it. Choppy waters carry seaweed and debris away from the shore. If only one part of a beach that you're at is discolored and it appears to be separated from the rest of the ocean by a line of waves, stay out of that water. There's likely a rip current there, which is capable of pulling everything from the safety of the shore and sending it to the middle of the ocean. Rip currents kill over 100 people in the U.S. alone every year. They're also responsible for the most rescues from lifeguards. Beaches do post riptide warnings on the days that you do need to worry about them, but they're not always 100% effective or accurate. If you do get caught in a riptide, you're going to have to swim as hard as you can vertically with the shoreline. Don't try to swim directly to the shore. It's just going to keep pulling you out. Swim sideways. When you break past the waves, then you can get out of the riptide and back to shore. Since ancient Greece, people reported seeing rats, snakes, insects, and other small creatures fleeing from the hidden crevices in homes several days before an earthquake. Scientists have yet to find a correlation between these animals' mysterious urge to leave and the earthquakes. They know the connection's there, they just haven't figured out exactly what it is yet. That's because you actually have to see this really occur. Animals can feel an earthquake coming a few seconds before it hits, but they feel waves before the earthquake occurs. If you see small animals running together in one direction, you should follow them. They're running away from the danger. If you see stampedes of larger animals running together in one direction, follow them. Same idea as I just mentioned. They could be fleeing from the forest habitat, maybe to escape a forest fire. Larger animals are capable of trampling you and maybe even your vehicle, so it's best to stay as far ahead of them as possible. Smaller creatures will try to hide and get trapped under logs or between trees. You have a better chance of winning the lottery than you do getting struck by lightning, but it does happen. Just like it does happen people win the lottery. Thanks to advances in medical technology and increased awareness of lightning coming, the number of deaths due to lightning strikes has dropped considerably since the 1940s. If a lightning bolt is about to strike, your hair is going to stand on end and your jewelry might buzz. If you feel those things, seek shelter immediately. If you can't get to cover, you should at least crouch down very low to decrease the amount of surface area that you cover. The best way to run from this is to make as little contact with the ground as possible. Run on the balls of your feet and stay that way until you do get into shelter. The lesser of you on the ground is the lesser of you that will get electrocuted. If you're out on the ocean in a boat, look for sharks. If you see one diving down to deeper water, it might be trying to get to food that it spotted in deeper waters. If you see more than one shark diving down to deeper waters, though, that could mean that there's a hurricane coming. Sharks can detect a drop in barometric pressure, which occurs before a hurricane. Sharks are very smart creatures, and they know that they're safest if they dive deep into the water. The pictures you see of sharks washed up in flooded malls and streets, those are typically fake. They get into the deeper water before the tides increase so they won't wash up on shore. So I'm guessing Sharknado isn't a real thing. Rain can be very relaxing, but if it starts raining really hard, that can cause a flash flood. Flash floods are the second most deadly form of severe weather. If you live near a body of water and the sound of rushing water is abnormally loud, you need to get your family to higher ground immediately. It could be a flash flood, powerful enough to carry large boulders, tear down buildings, uproot trees, take down bridges, and take away your home with you in it. You need to get out of the path of that flood immediately after hearing rushing water. If you're a bird watcher, you might be able to tell that there's a tornado or an earthquake coming. In April 2014, researchers tracking a flock of golden-winged warblers noticed that they had all left Tennessee. Each of the birds had a geolocator, and the researchers discovered that the entire group of 700 birds went south to Florida, much earlier than they usually did. Turned out they were trying to get to safer land. When the phenomena occurs, it's best to follow the birds. If you see a halo around the moon or around the sun, that could mean that severe weather's coming. The ring occurs when thin, cirrus clouds drive overhead. They contain tiny particles of crystallized ice that split and reflect the light, creating a ring around the moon or the sun. Even if the air feels crisp, there's still a storm coming. Pay attention to the weather forecast. If the storm coming is a major one, you might need to find a safer place to go depending on where you live. If you see a single dead fish on the coast, that's not really any cause for concern, except for that particular fish, of course. If the entire beach is littered with rotting fish, that water could be toxic. Red tide occurs when a specific species of algae known as Carenia brevis makes its way to large bodies of water and pollutes it. It stems from the Gulf of Mexico, and it's spread to all of the saltwater bodies in the world now. If the water was typically clear or blue and now is suddenly reddish or brown, stay away from the water. Going in the water could cause your throat to itch, could cause coughing, respiratory issues, and if for some reason you find yourself in the water anyway, like maybe you've fallen off of a boat or something, to treat the condition, rinse off in clean water immediately. Well, this isn't a warning of natural disaster, but if your dog is sniffing a part of your body, you probably need to see a doctor. Dogs have a very keen sense of smell. It's so powerful, dogs can sniff the beginning stages of cancer. Studies have proven that dogs can differentiate the different smells of people with and without cancer. If your dog is sniffing or licking a particular part of your body, you should call the doctor to be checked out. If you're on a mountain, skiing, snowboarding, hiking, watch for cracks in the snow. You should also watch for snow that feels hollow or makes a strange whumping sound when you step on it. If this happens, you could be in a dangerous avalanche zone. If an avalanche occurs, there's really no way of escaping it. It moves too fast, up to 80 miles per hour, and it'll swallow everything in its path. Even if you're not on the mountain, you're still not safe. The people at the bottom will often get caught in this snow. Torrential rainfall can cause rivers, streams, and lakes to overflow. Excessive rain can bring these waters to areas where people live. If you see muddy, brownish water coming up your street, you should prepare for a flood. Getting in your car to seek higher ground, though, that is not a smart idea during a torrential downpour. Also, if you drive into the path of the flood, that could have deadly consequences. And the weight of a vehicle can't withstand 2 feet of water. Your car will turn into a boat that you can't control. If you see this water, stay in the house and cover any area where water can enter the home with sandbags. The sound of the ocean waves crashing, it can be really relaxing. If the ocean starts roaring like a million hungry lions, though, you might want to run for ground right away. The roar means that there's a tsunami coming. The sooner you get to high ground, the safer you'll be. The worst tsunami in history occurred 3.5 billion years ago. A colossal asteroid collided with Earth, creating tsunamis that traveled from coast to coast without slowing down. The experts at NASA are still trying to find ways to prevent this from happening ever again, but good luck taming Mother Nature. And finally, if the sky turns green, stop staring at it. Stop taking photos. Get to a basement as quickly as possible. That green sky, as cool as it looks, it's due to the red light emitting from the sun and the blue light being brought on by storms. It's a warning sign that a tornado can form at any moment. The green sky does not guarantee that a tornado will develop, but really, do you want to take a chance? Take it from a guy that grew up in Kansas. You don't. Have you ever been caught in a tornado or hurricane? Tell us about your experience in the comments. As for me, I remember growing up in Olathe, Kansas, and my dad and I were in our driveway looking straight up through a funnel cloud that was forming. It hit 2 blocks over. Yes, we were idiots. Subscribe for more.